screen. I'm having a weird tech thing happen. Welcome to this month's installment of the Dear Neighbor series. Today we'll hear from the Vocations and Formation Committee. So glad you could join us. Welcome. We'll begin, as we do always, with a little bit of time in prayer. So I invite you to pray with me while remaining muted. Our consensus statement. Stimulated by the Holy Spirit of love and receptive to the Spirit's inspirations, we move always towards profound love of God and love of neighbor without distinction, from whom we do not separate ourselves, and for whom, in the following of Christ, we work in order to achieve unity of neighbor with neighbor and neighbor with God. In humility, the spirit of the incarnate word. In sincere charity, the manner of Saint Joseph whose name we bear. In an Ignatian Salesian climate, that is, with an orientation towards excellence, tempered by gentleness, peace, joy. So we just take a moment to pause and ground ourselves in our roots and in our foundation. This month's maxim is Maxim 27. We'll have two translations, one from Marcia Allen and one from high school students. Maxim 27. Seek out the interior and hidden life of Jesus, insofar as the activities of zeal allow. Avoid mediocrity. It's really boring. I appreciated that interpretation. So with that, I turn it over to Sister Marilyn Kane, who serves as our executive director here at the Federation, and she'll introduce our speaker today.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you all for being here today. We really appreciate your presence, and we're glad you made it as we changed the date because of Juneteenth and our celebration last week. So we changed our date, so we're happy that you were able to be with us. Today we have the pleasure of welcoming Valerie Zottola. And Valerie is a sister of St. Joseph of Baden, and she serves as a member of the Vocation Formation Committee of the Federation. The Vocation Formation Committee is very faithful and very diligent about their work, and they meet quite regularly and really do a lot together. So we're very happy to have Valerie here with us today, and I thank her for her presence. So Valerie, we'd love to hear from you right now. So it's yours to speak.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Thanks very much. I'm excited to be here, honestly. You know, vocation ministry today, as I'm sure you know, is drastically different than at least anything that I've known in my past. And so I really welcome the opportunity to share some of the insights or some of the experiences that I and those in the Federation have had, to share those with you. You will have access to a handout that I think we're going to screen share. Thanks, Stella. I'm not going to read this to you because you will have access to it, but this is a document that was published after the 2020 study of recent vocations through religious life. And I think, if nothing else, you will hopefully leave seeing that the vocation to vowed consecrated religious life is alive and well. It is not as it was, and I'll talk more about that later, but it is still thriving. It really is. There's over 500 candidates or postulants who are in initial formation in the United States. In the United States. 66% of newer entrants said they were invited. So don't hesitate to invite. And then the last thing I'm just going to make a reference to is at the very bottom. And this was on the Federation Facebook page. And look at those faces. Happy, alive, vibrant. I think that's a peek into the future. So thanks, Stella, for putting that up there. And you will have access to it, you know, to refer yourself to later and share it with whoever. I too want to say good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. And hopefully your weather is a little cooler than ours here in Pittsburgh, because it's been pretty hot. Okay, so vocation ministry. Some of us, I live, by the way, in Pittsburgh with a Franciscan sister who began the House of Discernment. And this is a very welcoming hospital house. We can live with as many as 6 of us in this intentional community. And we've had a number of women who have stayed with us for short periods or up to 18 months. They are women who are at a crossroads in their life, not necessarily considering vowed religious life, but they know something is happening in their hearts, something they want to pay attention to, and they know that they want something different than what they have been experienced in their life. And so at this house, it gives me a great opportunity to really intimately get to know how people are experiencing God and how they are experiencing call, what we used to call call or invitation. The ministry is as big as it could possibly be. You know, when I first began this in 2015, the former vocation director told me, well, you know, I have a presence on this college campus, I visit this high school, these high schools, et cetera, et cetera. So I started out that way, only to find that those doors were not as welcoming as they had been in the past. Now, that's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just that the environment, the culture, as we all know, has so drastically changed, which means institutions have had to change. And so there is much more attention paid to diversity and not coming across, whether it's a college campus or a high school environment, as promoting one thing or another. So what happens is that, and because we have computers, you can see, we can access people all over the world. They can access us. And the usual way that most recently, I'd say within the last 2 or 3 years, the most frequent way in which anybody interested in religious life gets to know who we are is online. They will Google Sisters of St. Joseph, or they'll Google religious life, and then they go from there. Many of us, I can't answer for all of us, but many of us in the Federation have ways in which those interests can be directed to one of us on the vocation formation team. And then we can move and start to interact with that person, maybe meet with them in person if they're in our geographic area, and so on. The other part of that is that we get a number of international inquiries, people from all over the world. Now, you can kind of imagine the host of complications in this. I'm just going to mention a couple. Most European and African countries will not accept women 30 years old or 35 years old and older. So what if a woman who is beyond that age range, 36, 37 or beyond, feels a call? She's got to go outside of those countries. However, on the other side, and I'm sure you know this, the United States immigration process is far from easy. In fact, it has gotten increasingly more difficult. So many of us, myself included, have been in interaction with a lot of immigration lawyers. And I'm sorry to say, but the recommendation that's given to us is don't try to bring them over here. Don't try to support or encourage them to come, because the way our immigration process is and the various visas that they can have access to is so complicated, so backed up, and in many cases carries a stipulation where they have to return after a period of time, only to find out that they can't come back to the United States. So at this time in history, that is a very least option that we want to go to. However, I am very happy that I was able to get in touch with a couple of Sisters of St. Joseph who are, particularly from the Lyon community, who are willing to help me with any kind of inquiries to find a Sister of St. Joseph place, convent or whatever, in the country closest to them, so that they don't have to consider coming to the United States. But that has taken a very long time to make that connection. The other thing that's a characteristic of most of those women who have inquired about religious life is that they're called what they call delayed vocations. Now, I don't like that word because clearly it implies that there's such a thing as the prime time for a vocation. Well, you know, God will call whoever and whenever God and us are open and receptive to the movement of God's Spirit. But the point is that most inquiries, serious inquiries, come in their 30s and 40s. Some of our congregations have age limitations on them. The Sisters of St. Joseph from Baden, we have decided not to. We have decided to approach every individual inquiry on its own characteristics and merits, but some have age limitations, and for good reason. You know, someone 50 years old wants to seriously engage in a process of initial formation, they will be easily in their 60s before they can profess final profession. And so, yeah, I mean, there's good reason why congregations have those age limits. I don't want to go too deeply into any of these issues. I just kind of want to give you a picture of what some are the challenges in this work. Recently, our Surgeon General declared an epidemic of loneliness. That is a very, very real characteristic of many of those who are inquiring about religious life. It's a characteristic of all. You know, it's a very sad thing for most of us that there's hardly a woman who inquires or meets with us, be they in their 20s or their 40s, who don't say to us, I want you to know I have a depressive disorder, or I want you to know that I'm suffering with anxiety. Sisters, this is a hard world for people to live in. I think we know that, but we have been so graced with that beautiful charism and faith that we've been given. I think that's our fallback. But unfortunately, they are living in a world where faith of any sort is not very popular. So they don't have that kind of fallback. But anyway, that brings up another issue that our congregations have to become more educated about, have to pursue in ways that we probably, at least not on any large scale, had to do in the past. As I mentioned, there's digital communication, computers. And yes, that is the first vehicle that they use to try to find out who we are, where we are, and what we are about. However, folks that are so engaged on their screens, that means a computer, an iPhone, an iPad, more and more research is showing that they are craving, they have deep, deep loneliness issues. They want one-to-one personal flesh experiences of relationship. That's both good and bad news. Bad news because they suffer with that need, but for us, we sure do know how to do that. If nothing else, Sisters of St. Joseph know how to do relationships. And this kind of leads into something I was going to talk about later, but I'm going to say it now. Many of my older sisters will say to me, I'm too old. They don't want to talk to me. Let me tell you, that is not true. That is absolutely not true. Any person, be they in their 20s or 40s, will say to me, I love talking with your older sisters. I want to sit down and talk over lunch with so-and-so that I just met. I actually myself, we had a Franciscan sister from Philadelphia who is about to enter a 30-day retreat before her final profession. And she's probably in her early 30s. And she sat down with me and she said, can I talk with you? This was over breakfast. I said, sure. She said, tell me how to sustain my vocation. These are questions that women who are seriously, either in terms of their newer entrance in our congregations or they're considering it, they need and they want to probe our experiences, the wisdom that we have gained about what does sustain our vocations, what has sustained us. So please, please, I ask you, do not entertain those thoughts that you're too old, because none of us are, none. I'm going to stop there just for a minute. Does anybody have any questions or comments about what I shared? Okay, then let me move on. So what has the United States, and actually the Canadian as well, federations, vocation and formation people do? The first thing I want to say is that we have invited our communicators, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, and we invite them at every meeting because we realize that, as I said, communication today, particularly online, computers, iPhones, iPads, is critical. It's critical. You know, no, we're not necessarily trying to sell religious life. We're trying to let it be known, because the vast majority of people do not know anything about us. I'm sure we're mindful that we're just not able and have not been for a little while to be physically present in institutions, parishes, etc. Sorry to say, many Catholics, but also others that aren't Catholic, have a bad taste after the recent historical things that have happened in the Catholic Church. They do not know that religious are separate in some ways, but yet part of. They don't understand that. So sometimes they come with that baggage, you know? So why am I telling you this? Because it is so important that we find ways with our communicators to communicate, to inform them of who we are today, what we have been about. And you know what's interesting, folks? They want to know our history. This has happened to me in about the last 6 weeks. I have had more women say, tell me more about your history. And they want to know the details of our history. That's kind of exciting. So anyway, so we get together, vocation folks, initial formation directors, and communicators every other month. And we do this to support each other, because clearly we're not getting hundreds of vocations. We're not. And it's pretty rough. You know, you kind of work and work and work. You plan something and 2 people show up or nobody shows up. You work with a woman and you think this, you know, she's going to, want to apply to your congregation, and she tells you, sorry. But here's the other part of this world that folks are growing up in. Their options for careers, for lifestyles is numerous. And so, you know, I was recently at a family gathering, and a couple of the folks that I was with, my nephew and some cousins, you know, and they're in businesses. One's in architecture, one's in engineering, and one is a salesperson for insurance. And they said, we just can't keep people today. We just can't. They're with us a couple months and then they find something else that's better. And research has validated that. So it's a very mobile generation. So to see or to expect that a person is today going to make a life commitment is quite challenging. And it's not just to religious life, it's to a career, it's to marriage, it's to anything. Even homes or apartments, they're moving because the world is wide open to them. They have access to opportunities that I know I never did, and they're interested in it. It's not a bad thing. It just is. It's a part of the culture. So when vocation, formation, and communicators get together, we share stories and try to support each other and basically say, hang in there, because underneath all of this, I would say the vast majority, if not all of us, deeply believe, if not know, that God is doing something new, something brand new, but something profound when it comes to vowed, consecrated religious life. And so that grace and the incarnation of that grace in each other through support keeps us getting up every day and getting back in the game. We also get together and share ideas, share resources. We can say, the sisters in the congregation of St. Joseph, oh my goodness, you're offering this. And a lot of times the offerings are online. So all of us can tell the women we're working with, hey, check that out, okay? So we share resources. And most recently, what we're trying to do is to very intentionally work to create on our screens, either and through the Federation web pages, our own particular congregational web pages, and we also, and I'll say more about this in a little bit, we have a group of newer Sisters of St. Joseph who are working to create a worldwide Sisters of St. Joseph webpage. So we're trying to, and actually this idea did not come from the vocation directors. It came from our newer members who are saying to us, I'm a sister of St. Joseph. I'm not a sister of St. Joseph from Baden or Congregation of St. Joseph or Boston. Indeed, that is my home, but I'm a sister of St. Joseph. So they see themselves differently than at least I saw myself, because they are relating to each other across the globe. They can talk to Sisters of St. Joseph in any continent, and they are doing that. They're getting together and they're doing that. If not in person, on these screens like you and me right now. And they find excitement. They can make connections. They can hear what greater needs are. They can discern that and say, oh, maybe I want to go to that country and help my friend. I find that terribly exciting. I don't know about you, but I find it terribly exciting. So, any questions? Because that's a lot. That's an awful lot. I can't say a whole lot right now about the worldwide webpage because it's really in process. And like I said, it was a dream that some of our newer members had. And then one of the vocation directors decided she would help support them in getting this to happen. All right, so let me just end with a couple of things. We began with our consensus statement. And most recently, I don't know, maybe about a year ago, I came across our consecration to the two Trinities. And I thought, wow, I haven't seen that in a while. So I started to pray it. And when I saw the values and the same values that we prayed with our prayer in the beginning, cordial charity, humility, gentleness, poverty, those are the very things the world cries out for today. Here at the House of Discernment, the one thing almost everybody says, I love coming here because you're welcoming. I feel safe here, safe to talk about things that I don't feel safe to talk about outside these doors. But each and every one of us has that capacity to do that. We do. I don't care what your situation is. We can meet whoever comes to us in our daily life with that same love that we have been graced with in our charism. I dare say, in my own opinion, we may not be in the institutions, the schools, the hospitals, the parishes, the social service places. But I wonder, maybe that's intentional. Maybe that's actually what God wanted, because that's not where the greatest need is today. Maybe the greatest need is helping people to come to know that they are loved, they are important, they are welcomed and embraced by us who incarnate that great love of God without distinction. I'll end there and welcome any questions.
Thank you so much, Valerie, for sharing with us your views on vocation formation and the desire to encourage women to join us in our very life. And also thanks to the vocation formation group of the Federation, which includes Canada, who are working so hard to find ways to communicate that to the larger world. And thanks to all of you who are with us today. I see many faces who are very familiar, people who have been coming to the Dear Neighbor series all year, and we're glad to see you again. We are, as you may know, taking a break for the July and August. There will be no meetings, but our next meeting will be on Wednesday, September 18th at the same time, 12 Eastern. And we will be talking about land justice, future, and focus communities. A number of our communities are focused on land justice. So that's what we will be talking about in our September meeting. So I wish all of you a pleasant summer, and we hope to see you all again in September. And we do always try to start on time and end on time. So I thank you, Valerie, for it's always hard to plan those talks to fit right into the time we gave you, but you did it perfectly. So we are very, very grateful to you and to all who are with us today. And we wish you all a very happy summer. And as the song used to go, it was a favorite song when I was in high school, see you in September. So have a great summer, and we look forward to seeing you in September. And again, Valerie, thanks to you.
Welcome.
Bye, everyone.